These new collaboration and ongoing work at an EU level on DSA and the online safety bill in the UK, I would like to ask you both, can you go into more detail as to what you hope the concrete outcomes will be from this initiative and what specific goals or milestones have been set, for example, developing technical standards, ensuring privacy and supporting independent research, and how will children, parents, experts, civil society voices be involved so that solutions are effective, evidence-based and rights-respecting. And I welcome the collaboration, but it is vital that it leads to clear targets, transparent progress and tangible protection for our young people. And any detail that you could provide would be greatly appreciated and extremely helpful. I have 40 seconds left, so I'd like to maybe hear your views on cognitive outsourcing to AI, and is there much research being done in that area, protecting cognitive health with AI and balancing the approach to that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Baroness Bull.
Thank you. As we've heard, artificial intelligence is the defining opportunity of our generation, and the UK and the EU have already demonstrated that structured collaboration can deliver measurable outcomes. We have joint investment in compute infrastructure and shared research networks that are allowing both sides to retain competitiveness in the face of global competition. So expanding these partnerships, pooling infrastructure and expertise is not a nice to have. It's absolutely essential to innovation, economic resilience, and to maintaining Europe's relevance in frontier technology. Cooperation also matters because an over-reliance on US and China-based AI models may put Europe at risk and threaten our ability to stand up for our shared values. Algorithmic bias puts equality and accountability at risk in recruitment, education, finance, and public services. And since bias arises from data rather than geography, it can't be resolved within national borders. Alignment is going to be crucial if AI is going to enhance and not undermine social justice. I also note the need to protect creators' rights and ensure transparency over training data. Europe is setting the pace in clarifying these boundaries. I think of the Munich court ruling that ChatGPT infringed copyright by training on protected song lyrics, and I would say perhaps our government has something to learn here from the EU. Finally, as we've heard, AI underpins trade, culture, research, indeed our everyday lives, but the TCA has no provisions at all relating to AI and digital governance. So the 26 review offers the opportunity not just to formalise existing collaborations on compute, safety, education and creative rights, but to update the agreement for the AI era. In doing so, it will consolidate Europe's role as a global leader in safe, trustworthy and human-centred AI.
Thank you very much. Katarina Barley.
Thank you so much for bringing up this, I would say, existential topic. I think we all agree on the advantages of AI. I mean, it's going to bring huge progress in health and science, in whatever. So I would like to focus a bit more on the challenges and risks. Some of them have already been named. But I think the main challenge and risk is that we all become transparent. And we already are, in fact. I mean, all these big tech firms know a lot about ourselves, even if we don't give them the data, but just by the way we use our mobile phones. And that means that we become addicted. I mean, look at us. I don't know who hasn't touched his or her phone, and including myself. I mean, we're, and look at youth. This is really a serious form of addiction. It's manipulation, also there. Look at our youth. The main source of information is TikTok and YouTube, and we all know how reliable the information is you get there. And thirdly, it is a form of, I call it double isolation. First of all, many people just run around even in the streets like this. So you isolate yourself from others. And then within the bubble, you are isolated. We live in different worlds. We cannot come together and discuss because we rely on different facts. It's not opinions, it's facts. So If we take all this into account, we have to decide if we sort of go with the flow, it's what's going to happen, and if not, we're going to be left behind, or if we want to set rules, efficient rules. And you may guess that I'm on the side of setting rules. We have done that as a European Union, the GDPR being the most important one, which says essentially your data belongs to you. It's your right. Nobody has the right to take it away from you without consent. And the second one is the AI Act. And I have to say, I'm a bit worried when I think of the omnibus and I see what is being leaked. Let's see how we can react to that. But of course, it's also a question of the adequacy decision. I mean, I like to have trust in the UK, but I also have to be sure that the data that is being shared with the UK is not going to the tech bros in the US, who I don't trust for a bit. So I would like to quote Tina Turner, who was married to a German and used to live in Germany. Let's stay together. Thank you.
Thank you, Katerina. I'm looking forward to debate the digital omnibus, but that's for another place, another parliament. Lord Kirkhope, please.
Thank you. I bear the scars of being part of the preparation of the GDPR when I was in Brussels. And I moved, luckily, into helping UK AI organisation. But I'm just making it quite clear now that we are probably the least equipped. However clever we might be on the subject, we're the least equipped as legislators to deal with this matter. Unless we have different kinds of legislation, smart legislation is what I call it, we will never ever keep up with the developments that are going on, nor do we want to stop those developments, particularly if they are positive. However, we do need to have in place sufficient regulation in the same way as GDPR has safety, redress available to those who are abused. We need that there too. The question is, however, are we going to go down the route that my old colleague Axel Voss went down with the European Union? Are we going to actually be as prescriptive, or are we going to move towards a laissez-faire situation as the United States sees? Either way, ladies and gentlemen, we have to make sure that there is some clarity and interoperability. So we do need to work together. It's absolutely vital, both in terms of what we decide, but also joint research and joint planning, and also ways in which we can avoid misuse, cyber threats, and disinformation, which is one of the biggest threats to the democratic process that I have come across in my entire life. We want a practical agenda, looking ahead and maximizing the opportunities, and at the same time we need to be very careful that ultimately we protect democratic values, we make sure our economies are not weakened but strengthened, we ensure that the technology, at the end of the day, serves the public interest. There are some very encouraging signs in the positive use of AI, but I'm afraid to say that unless we get a proper balance, we are in great danger of having it abuse us and having it being misused to bad effect.
Thank you. Elizabeth Dieringer.
Thank you so much. I have maybe another point of view of some of you, so because I would like to say that the EU AI Act was created in itself with the goal of minimizing risk and protecting citizens. But now we are going, however, in reality in another direction. And I think we are now in the way of an excessive regulation, and this is what I want to mention here, and that we have to be aware of this, and that we are building like a regulatory protective wall for the largest actors while pushing out smaller companies, and that should actually be driving Europe's digital future. And we have to think about this. Regulation is necessary, but it must focus on where concrete risks are. In the use of AI in sensitive areas such as healthcare, security, finance, or labor law. But at the end, I don't know, my colleague first was talking about this. Yes, we use it, and also the other colleague talked that we have it here, it's now reality, and we can't go behind all this reality. So we have to focus on this, that instead of over-regulation, we have to keep Europe, the UK, also prepared for the future, but in a certain way of competitiveness. Thank you.
Thank you. Francesco Torselli.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you all. It is an honor to speak about an important and strategic topic in a marvelous place like this Parliament. I would like to share a brief reflection with this delegation. We are on the threshold of a new era, exactly like 30 years ago, when the first cellular phones entered our pockets for the first time, or 20 years ago, when we all discovered the fascinating world of social networks. And just like then, we are facing a doubt. Will AI be an ally for our work and our lives, or will it be a dangerous enemy? Dear colleagues, the rest of the world is running fast. USA, China, but also Taiwan, South Korea, Japan, are already running away from us. And this distance is all in a number. The EU and UK together produce today only 10% of the microchips inside our technological devices. This percentage falls down to 1% if we consider the new technological microchips designed for AI use. The question, so, is not whether artificial intelligence will be an ally or an enemy, but whether we want to regulate its use ourselves, together UA and UK, I hope, or accept rules written by someone else. Dear colleagues, we have a lot of work to do and little time. Thank you.
Thank you. Baroness Nicholson.
Thank you very much. I should explain that my background is in servo electronique, and therefore I suggest that our approach should be that our data cannot be protected any longer, and that I was responsible for the computer software copyright bill and for the hacking bill here, which I brought into Brussels and then tried to manage to bring into the USA, but did not succeed because they've come from a different background. Is it not better to perceive that we do not have control over any electronic data, however hard governments may try, and we should try, and the European Union and the rest of us should try? Nonetheless, there's all sorts of things like computer hacking. What some person can do, I can undo. I'm a computer person. And I recommend we think of it a little bit differently in the round. We cannot genuinely protect. What can we do that will be helpful to the citizen despite that?
Thank you very much. Michael McNamara.
Thank you very much, Chair. It's quite clear that both the EU and the UK have very ambitious plans for AI and indeed are beginning to put those into implementing them, but the question is whether that will lead to convergence or divergence. In February of this year, eyebrows were raised when the UK declined to sign the AI Action Summit's declaration, particularly given that the UK had initiated the whole Bletchley Park process and summits. In September, the UK and US agreed a memorandum of understanding on the technology prosperity deal. And I suppose the question that I'd like to ask is, what are the regulatory implications of that memorandum, if any? The UK and Canada also published a joint statement on advancing AI safety, which included a commitment to developing AI safety standards internationally. Businesses in the UK which provide and deploy AI systems, and businesses anywhere in the world which deploy or provide AI systems in the EU have to, if they come into the scope of the, if the deployed systems come within the scope of the AI Act, have to comply with the standards that are currently being developed under the AI Act, albeit perhaps more slowly than was initially envisaged. And Article 40 of that encourages the consideration of international standards. And I'm just wondering, in that context, is the UK's approach to encourage alignment with the EU AI Act, or is it otherwise? Earlier this year it was announced that the UK and EU would hold a UK-EU digital dialogue. Of course, that's very welcome. We've heard from the Minister of the UK's commitment to Euro HPC, which is also very welcome. But I'm just wondering, that is very much around hardware and developing the capacity and capabilities for AI rather than the regulatory regime, and where we're heading with regard to convergence or otherwise of those regulatory regimes. Thank you.
Thank you. Para Holmgren.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to start by trying to make a bridge to the previous subject we discussed regarding touring artists. As Marcia also mentioned already, the problem with copyright issues. From what I understand, Sir Paul McCartney has released a new track with just sounds and noise as a reaction to this. From what I understand also, your very, very talented, beautiful Kate Bush will do something similar in the next few days, and a number of other artists as well. This is one example. I mean, this is not a core issue of artificial intelligence, and I would like to stress that artificial intelligence is not here to stay. It's here to accelerate. And we cannot stop this development, but we do need to be responsible regarding who's in control, who will feel the benefit, and who will make the money out of it. For the second minute, I would like to focus on the fact that I'm the contact person for the European Parliament to the European Environment Agency with its headquarters in Copenhagen. And unfortunately, due to Brexit, UK is not a member anymore of EEA. Our colleagues in Switzerland are, my Scandinavian neighbors in Norway and Iceland. They are also members of the EEA. And I recommend you all to read and check their latest report, the State of European Environment, released just a few weeks ago. And we all know how important it is with reliable data tackling the triple crisis that we're into with climate change, loss of biodiversity and air pollution. And it's also, of course, very important to tackle these issues with more cooperation, not at least between UK and EU. So I really urge you all, my colleagues from the UK, to do whatever you can to make UK re-entry as a partner to the European Environment Agency. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Luke Flanagan.
Just to take up the speaker's point on being left behind, I don't think we should be left behind, but I think it's a very dangerous thing in life to do something out of a fear that you'd be left behind. I think it should be done on the basis that it's to the benefit of humanity, and it depends what you do with it. A bit like dynamite. It wasn't invented to blow people up. It was invented for something positive, but it's how humanity uses it. And out of a fear of being left behind, I'm 53, getting to that stage where I'm going, I wonder, am I left behind? I decided when the new Common Agricultural Policy proposals came out that I'd put it into AI and see what they thought about it. And what it told me was that actually, if I believed it, the cap from 2 cycles ago was actually part of the new cap. A lot of what was in the last cap is in the new cap, and a lot of what was proposed wasn't in it. And I thought to myself, well, it's a good job I know quite a lot about this. This is all I do. But a lot of people wouldn't know that, and they'd have looked it up. And we had some interesting news today, and it wasn't part of my cultural immersion. I listened to the BBC anyways. And this morning they were talking about AI, and they were talking about, well, it was actually the CEO of Meta said, we shouldn't blindly trust it. But at the same time, nothing is changing. If I put in that for CAP at the moment, it'll still tell me the same thing. And we had an interesting comment from Gina Neff, professor responsible for AI at Queen Mary University. She said about Meta, the company now is asking to mark their own exam paper while they're burning down the school. Now, we have a situation now where these companies can put out any information they want. I mean, if a newspaper put out a pack of lies, they'd have to be accountable for it. But at the moment, if you look up the new cap under AI, it'll tell you a pack of, it doesn't mean to be lying, but they're a pack of lies. So I get the idea of the fear of being left behind, but the fear of being left behind could have left me with a lot of bad information, only I knew quite a lot about it already. So I think we need to be wary of it, but at the same time, number one, it's got to benefit humanity, and if it doesn't, forget about it.
Thank you. Now we have a representative for the Senate, Anna Blitzen. Please, you have the floor.
Diolch, Chair. AI is the topic of our time, the automation for our age, and bringing with it both opportunities and the need to balance opportunities and challenges. In Wales, we want to get a better understanding of what AI means for the workforce, and my Senedd Committee's work on AI has recently reported on the potential impacts on both individual businesses and workers. We have called for a greater analysis on which groups are most likely to be impacted by job displacement in order to best place the state and governments to mitigate against adverse effects. We do need to move beyond the hype and focus on hope, working together with workers front and centre of this. We've heard repeatedly we don't want to be left behind, but to make sure we leave no one behind, workers' rights should be at the heart of our discussions on AI in this Assembly, and a collective approach and commitment to ethical AI is not just essential to our economies, but to our democracies as well.
Thank you. And we had the intervention with Carl van Loeve, Chair of the Committee of the Regions.
Thank you, President. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to bring the perspective of local and regional authorities and of the European Committee of the Regions into this debate. This is my first time representing the committee here at the PPA as an observer in my role as chair of the COR UK contact group. I sincerely hope that our voice will continue to be heard in your future discussions. We already see that AI can greatly strengthen public sector organizations. There are a lot of opportunities. It can enhance policy making by detecting social issues earlier, monitoring policy implementation in real time, and identifying trends that help us anticipate future needs. It can improve public services, offering more efficient, personalized, and even entirely new services, while building trust and participation among citizens. And it can optimize internal management, helping administration allocate resources better and improve security. For decision-making in particular, AI allows us to integrate data from different domains, to analyze daily processes such as energy use or mobility patterns, and to simulate future scenarios, tools that are invaluable for sustainable urban development. Now that the AI Act is in place, our local and regional authorities must identify the opportunities this rapidly evolving technology offers and prepare their administrations to use it responsibly and effectively. A key factor will be interoperability, our ability to share information, connect systems, and ensure that public administration can communicate with each other. In an era of automation and digitalization, this is essential not only for a functional digital single market, but also for protecting public institutions from growing cybersecurity threats. Cooperation between regions, sharing good practices, and importantly, lessons from failures will be vital. This is why I would like to see our COR UK contact group explore these themes together. Regions on both sides of the channel have strengths we can combine. Working together, we can ensure that AI becomes a driver of innovation, resilience, and better governance for all our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Now the session of question and intervention is over. I give back the floor to our guest, and I start with Mrs. Scioli. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I think I will start with the very first question on child safety, which is a very important question indeed, because you have all spoken about the risk of AI, of addiction, of disinformation, cyber threats, and all this. And to all this, effectively, we expose the children who are certainly don't have the knowledge or the media literacy or the understanding of the world that they will be facing. So there is already a memorandum of understanding that was written between the European Commission and Ofcom last year for working on child safety. And in the European Union, we are strongly also discussing the age verification issue, so at which age should then the minors have the possibility to go freely online. This is a very hot discussion in the European Union. But I wanted to point out the fact that with the AI Act and with the Digital Service Act in the European Union, we have legislation in place that looks at some of these issues. For example, with the AI Act, we have a prohibition for AI to subliminally manipulate vulnerable people. So this includes children. Therefore, there will be the possibility, for example, to say that maybe a chatbot should not be manipulating a child who doesn't understand what is happening. And then the Digital Service Act has a number of measures. For example, the platforms have to design their services to protect children from unwanted content, or they have to reduce excessive screen times. They have to reduce the time that the children are exposed to recommender systems. They have to pay attention to the time spent by the children online. So there is a number of safeguards that are already in our legislation, and I hope that discussing together we can actually make this even more enforceable and collaboratively together. Now, you all spoke a lot about the risk of AI, and of course this is the reason why we have the AI Act, and with the AI Act we have tried to build smart rules in the sense of obligations that are more stringent, the stronger the risk is. So we have a risk-based approach. And we have tried to really target the kind of applications that we consider to be high risk or that we want to analyze from the point of view of safety, because we still want to see AI being used in the European Union, because AI, as many of you reminded, does have a lot of benefits if you think of healthcare and other applications. So we try to have a balanced approach. With measures on innovation, we have introduced possibilities for regulatory sandboxes, and at the same time trying to really force companies to be responsible about the services they put in place in the European Union. And as it was said, remarked earlier, you're not far away geographically, so of course the companies in the UK who want to put these systems in use in the European Union, they will also have to respect these rules. On copyright, we have a copyright directive. I know this is a very important topic also for the UK, and we do use the copyright directive, which foresees the possibility for right holders to opt out from the scraping of the internet that is carried out by the AI developers, but we must strengthen the technological capability to implement the opt-out. And last, I would like to say, it was mentioned in the very last intervention, the importance of AI for the public sector. It is true, and many governments are already engaging with AI in the public sector. It's an opportunity to stimulate local developments here. It's very important to make sure that this innovation is implemented in a responsible manner, and that people in the public administration do really have the skills to put in place these systems. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Murray, you have the floor.
Very brief, but just to deal with some of the issues, I think Ms. Carberry raises the key one for all of us in terms of the issues around online safety, particularly for children. Our Online Safety Act has just been implemented, and there's things being added to that all the time. The new Secretary of State has added cyber flashing to that, strangulation, and suffocation, and a whole host of other issues. And there's two levels to that. There's the sort of primary levels of trying to stop things that are very harmful to children, like pornography, self-harm, suicide, those kinds of issues. But there's also those secondary content levels like hate content, bullying, and those kinds of things that are very prevalent in what we know of on online safety, particularly for children. And you asked a little bit about how we monitor and how we try and prevent that from happening. Ofcom is the Office for Communications, which is the regulator, the independent regulator from government. They have the ability to levy 10% fines of global revenues up to £18 million. There's criminal sanctions if these kinds of issues persist at the online platforms. And the infrastructure is being developed all the time about how we can try and resolve that through age verification and things. So it's not a panacea, there's no silver bullet here, but there is from all policymakers, a real drive to try and make sure that people, and particularly children, are safe online. And it goes to the issues, I think, that Lord Kirklope mentioned in terms of how can we be equipped to deal with these issues, because we essentially are analogue policy makers in a digital world. And how do we deal with that? Because actually we've just in the last Parliament in the late 2000s developed legislation that would deal with the telephone when nobody uses the telephone anymore. So we have to be adept, and how can we be adept not only as individual nations but also across our relationships to make sure we can deal with these big issues that happen very quickly in terms of the technological push. And it goes, I suppose, to the points that I think Baroness Nicholson challenges us all to say that maybe we're looking at this the wrong way. Our data has probably gone. Anyone who has a loyalty card for a major supermarket probably gives up more data than we would ever care to imagine. And perhaps what we need to do is to put the control of that data in the hands of the citizen to make sure they can be aware of what is being shared, what people know about you, and how you can then control that kind of data. And that takes policymakers a huge amount of time to produce, but I think that's probably the way we need to go in terms of controlling data. And Mr. Flanagan, if I merely just say that you fell into the trap that AI always falls into. AI is not a search engine and shouldn't be seen that way, but we should use it for search purposes. But actually, the key thing that you've highlighted is that AI, for all its complexities and all its opportunities, doesn't take away the human eye. And we heard from our final speaker around particularly the great advantages of in the world of medicine in terms of diagnosis, in terms of fast diagnosis that is accurate, but it doesn't take away the consultant's eye of seeing that that is actually the true reflection of what is being diagnosed. So we have to harness technology, and particularly AI, for the benefits of the purposes we want to use it for. And indeed, if AI can't understand the common agricultural policy, perhaps there's a problem with the policy rather than the technology. I say rather flippantly. But I suppose, but let me finish with this in terms of the other issues. And this is why this body is so important to look at some of these issues, because whether it be creative copyright, which we discussed in our previous session, whether it be online safety and children's safety, whether it be the regulatory environment that is able to be put in place to make sure that AI can flourish and technology can flourish, but also can be controlled and regulated in a way that helps the technology flourish, but citizens being protected, is stuff that we should be talking about regularly and stuff that we need to be talking about together, because not one country can resolve this on their own. And it's that interoperability. So I think we heard from Mr. McNamara, who talked about whether or not the US-UK tech deal is about alignments with the EU policies, or whether it's about countries aligning together. And I think the key word is interoperability rather than alignment, to make sure that whatever we're doing as individual nations or member states, or indeed the UK and the EU and the wider global environment, are all interoperable, so that there's no one able to use the regulatory backdoor to cause harm to our citizens wherever you are in the world. And that is a huge challenge, because we can't deal with this on an individual basis. So I think the contributions have been fantastic in raising those issues. I think it shows the challenges that we have, both as governments and as policymakers and parliamentarians, to try and resolve some of these issues. But I think it's an incredibly exciting way forward. And it's not just, as Baroness Nicholson challenges us, it's not just about how we traditionally regulate or legislate in the areas of new tech, but how we perhaps think about how we do things more generally to respond to these big issues, whether or not we're adept enough, whether or not we're quick enough, whether or not we're citizens enough focused to ensure that we're not just advancing the opportunities that these technologies have, but we're also making sure that there's key protections in place. And those thought processes for us all are incredibly challenging and something we should cherish and we should adopt.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This concludes this very interesting debate, concludes today, because I got the feeling that we will continue to discuss about these important issues. Now, I will hand over to Marsha for the next point on the agenda.
Brilliant. And can I just add my thanks to everyone? I thought that was a really engaging and quite constructive exchange of views there. So the next item, you'll be pleased to know, is any other business. So does anyone have any other business? Okay. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay. Well, you are very welcome. Thank you. So if there isn't anything, I just want to say a few words before I hand back to Sandro for closing and remarks. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank Lord Ricketts, who will be stepping down from the PPA from January, when his tenure as chair of the Lords European Affairs Committee will come to an end. Now, Lord Ricketts has been a delegate of the PPA since its inception and a vice chair since June 2023. His knowledge, experience and diplomacy has been an invaluable asset to the PPA, and can I add also to myself as well. I know Lord Ricketts will continue to follow the UK-EU relations closely, and he would be happy to meet with any colleagues that are visiting from the European Parliament anytime soon. So a huge thank you to Lord Ricketts. I would also like to just say a massive thank you to all of you. As delegates, as guests and also observers, I think it's been a really positive session together. I said earlier yesterday that I know that there are a few things that I know Sandra and myself want to discuss about how we can improve and enhance the PPA. So I'm really hoping that going forward we can do that. Now, just one final practical point. So for those delegates and colleagues who will be participating in the tour, it will leave from outside of this room at 1 p.m. So enjoy the tour for those that are going to be participating. A massive thank you again to all the staff and everybody that helps make this happen. It didn't just happen, so thank you. Whom without this would not be possible. So massive thank you. I'm now going to hand over to Sandro. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marsha, and I also want to thank you all. I mean, your presence here for 2 days is the best sign that is worth it, that we must work together and we want to work together. I know other delegation, and I'm very proud to say that this delegation and this partnership had the highest attendance. And I think that this is certainly something of which we should all be proud, and as a co-chair, I'm very grateful to you all. It is very important, and we have to continue with, strengthening the parliamentary dimension of our partnership. So really, I count very much on you. I also, as Marsha said, we had also your concern, for example, on the process of the final recommendation. We have read your mails, so we will try to improve a mechanism that we have inherited. So we are not doing something different from the past. We are doing what it has been done for 6 PPA. Now there are demand for more transparency and more understanding of the process, and we are very willing, as far as we can, to improve the process. Also on this, we will come back to you after a discussion in the Bureau. So thank you very much. Let me just inform you, because it's a save the day, so I want you all at the next 7th Parliamentary Partnership meeting. So I give you already the date and the place, so you can well prepare your agenda. We will meet in Brussels on the 16th and the 17th of March 2026. And with this, I declare hereby closed the 6th Parliamentary Partnership Assembly. Thank you very much to you all.